What is up, guys? It's your boy Brandon from the Nest Podcast coming at you on Waiver Wire Wednesday for your NFL Week 3. And you know what that means, right? It's time for another 5-minute fantasy. Week 3 is here. Week 2 was full of injuries, and we've got to fill some waiver spots. So this week, I'm bringing on the waiver king himself, Harvey. I call him that because last season he rode the waiver wire all the way to the championship game, nearly won the damn thing. But Harvey, welcome to the show, and we're ready to fill in some of these lineups because I'm sure a lot of people out there have holes up and down their rosters.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, and it's good to finally land in the nest. Um, Unfortunately, yeah, I've kept my waiver wire king title this season because I'm 0-2 at the moment. So, uh, kicking it off, my position that I needed to fill the worst was Saquon Barkley because he's out for the year. So, my first priority this week was Mike Davis, the running back that's going to take CMC's place. And it could be debated about Devontae Freeman getting signed in New York, which one would be the best pickup. But I feel the running back by committee in New York is going to kind of hinder Freeman. Plus, I think we spoke about this earlier, but he hasn't even practiced with these guys. Like, he probably is just now reading the playbook. It's going to take a little while to acclimate. So, but that was my number one priority. That's how I wanted to kick it off. What was your first priority?
Well, absolutely. You were talking about Saquon. I'm sure a lot of guys out there are trying to find some kind of answer. And you're right. I don't think Devontae Freeman is that answer, especially for this week.
Hmm.
Maybe weeks 4, 5, 6 down the line, he will be. He needs to have time to get acclimated there in New York. So for me, the people that are out there listening, the Saquon Barkley, yeah, it's big, but Christian McCaffrey is even bigger. And you hit on it that Mike Davis is going to be in there to be able to fill those shoes. Going into this week, he was only owned on 3% of the ESPN fantasy teams. So he was out there for a lot of people. I'm sure if we go back and look, he's going to definitely skyrocket.
Well, I had to even go, like, I had to do a deep dive just to realize who he was because, like, I didn't remember his time. He played at USC, evidently. So, like, we should have recognized the name, but I didn't. So, but according to his stats from just the little bit of time he's had, it looks like he's efficient out of the backfield. So, the CMC model back that they had working in North Carolina, hopefully that'll be a seamless thing for those of us that picked him up. But
He's always been a guy that can catch out of the backfield, so it's going to be something good for Teddy Bridgewater. Speaking of guys catching balls, the Broncos had a lot of injuries this week. Not only was their quarterback Drew Lock taken out, but Cortland Sutton tore his ACL as well, so he's out for the rest of the season. So that's where my number one priority was for my team, was I had to find a way to replace Sutton as my primary flex receiver. So I went out and I picked up Henry Ruggs from the Raiders. I feel like he's going to be a guy that I can add into my flex so that it's somebody that will potentially give me some decent points, especially now that they're using that more pass heavy offense in not Oakland, Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. It is hard to remember that, but we saw my Saints get exposed on national TV. But during the course of that expose, they I think Josh Jacobs might have taken a couple of dings and dangs there. So I think that the passing game is going to have to step up to equal out because the defenses, if they don't key on number 28 now, they didn't watch any game film. Like, he was all over the place. So I support that pick at wide receiver. The wideout that I had ranked the highest, it was availability in my league. But Russell Gage, he's coming off of some pretty good games, and I mean, a lot of people have picked up on the fact that Julio's kind of he's not Julio from the Super Bowl era. He's kind of in his latter years. Um, the kid Calvin Ridley is maybe the number one wide out there. So I'm looking at Russell Gage like he might be a slot receiver, someone that might end up stealing some of those throws that would have went to Julio last year or in the past. Um, I also had Corey Davis ranked really high from Tennessee. Antonio or AJ Brown, whatever his name is, the other AB, the one that doesn't like wreck his life on social media. That guy, he's still out. So Corey Davis has been targeted. I think it's like 12 times in 2 games. Very high catch efficiency, and I think he scored in one, if not both, of those games.
Now you mentioned Julio Jones. He's actually listed as questionable for week 3. So that might be a much better pickup if he's not able to suit up on Sunday. We talked a little bit about Drew Lock being injured. He's out. He's tentatively going to return week 5. And we learned today that Tyrod Taylor is not going to be playing in week 3 as well. The Chargers medical staff did him wrong and punctured his lung. So we know Justin Herbert's going to be starting. Is that a guy that you look at as a fantasy darling for week 3? Or is he just a run-of-the-mill guy that you're not really going to take a chance on to plug into your roster?
Well, okay, so I'm high on Justin Herbert or Aver. I'm not even sure how they pronounce it because that's how unfamiliar I am with him.
I
But
think it is Abear, actually.
so I looked up just the stats from the game that he played. His average completion was 9.4 yards, which, like, you're a fan of Tom. Well, we're a fan of Tom Brady, and I'm a fan of Drew Brees. We know what the dink and dunk offense looks like. That's not what this kid's about. He's from the Brett Favre cloth of like gunsling, and as Zach pointed out on the podcast, rookies are going to make rookie mistakes. So I'm not sure if I would insert him into my lineup this week. Gardner Minshew is available in almost like every league that, like all the leagues that I'm in. And he's got 509 passing yards, 6 touchdowns through the air, and only 2 picks. So Minshew mania, like there's no reason to hate on Duval right now. They've got a couple of weak opponents coming up. I think Minshew would be if I was picking a quarterback up, that's who I would go after right now.
Now, you mentioned the Jags, and TJ's comment and saying that the Broncos picked up Blake Bortles, which that's going to be the replacement for Drew Lock there in Denver, I assume. Blake Bortles is a terrible quarterback. He's a waste of space. Don't put him in your fantasy lineups. If you're out there and you need a quarterback to plug in, I'm going to go ahead and say get Mitchell Trubisky from the Bears. He's unowned. He's only owned in about 14% of the ESPN leagues. So that would be my pick to go in there and replace it. Guys, that's all I've got this week for 5-Minute Fantasy. We thank you guys for watching. Tune back in on Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and I'll tell you who to sit and start. Peace.
Also, good health to everybody's rosters, and good luck not being number 1 on the wire like the king himself.